All right. Um, Great. Welcome. This is going to be part two of our second question. The question last week was, how can we know that God created everything in 6 literal days and that he didn't just cause the Big Bang and then guide evolution? So you answered on the 6 literal days last week, and y'all can check that video out. So it's on there on Facebook and wherever else we might put it later. So be watching for it. So go ahead. How can we know?
Well, as far as the Big Bang goes, it is one of the best evidences we have that the Bible is true. Um, the the matter of fact, it's been the Big Bang theory has been called the beginning of the end of atheism, and so it is absolutely outstanding evidence. And so it starts with Albert Einstein, and he came up with the theory of general relativity. And through this process of working his way through this equation, he came to the conclusion that it's possible that the universe had a beginning. Now, this is a huge problem. The hope of science and the materialistic community is that the universe has existed forever. Because if not, they have a huge problem on their hands. They knew it. The real challenge came when Hubble was studying planets, and he noticed that the universe was expanding. And if the universe was expanding, if you were to hit the rewind button, it would all come back together in the same place. And so if it was all together in one place at one time, it led to the conclusion that at one point it wasn't there, and then all of a sudden it burst suddenly into existence. And from that point in space, it began to move outward in the way, expanding in the way that it is. And so that when Albert Einstein was working on this theory, he actually fudged the numbers to try to make it look like this wasn't the case. It's desperately looking for an out to say, no, this wasn't it. But the evidence stacked and stacked up. The laws of thermodynamics tells us that it is absolutely impossible that the universe does not have a beginning, that the universe has existed forever, because if it had existed forever, then all the energy in the universe would have been burned up by this point, and there wouldn't be anything left. And so there's just no way. It has to have a beginning, and to that point, it also has to have an end. And so Albert Einstein demonstrated that space, time, and matter all came into existence at the same time, or very close to the same time as one another. They can't exist apart from one another. And so if this is true, we can come to a couple of conclusions about the Big Bang. And so the first is that obviously it has to have a cause. The law of causality, which is well established. As a matter of fact, they say the old joke is that if you ever meet somebody that says they don't believe the law of causality, ask them what caused them to come to that conclusion. And so the law of causality, anything that begins to exist has to have a cause. The universe began to exist. We know this from scientific fact. So it has to have a cause. And what would that cause be? Well, if matter, time, and space all came into existence at the same time, then whatever caused it is not within space, is not made of material, and exists outside of time. Not only that, whatever caused the universe to exist had to be incredibly powerful, had to be all powerful, because look at it. And it had to be personal, because this couldn't have happened on accident if there's nothing there to interact with. It can't be a chain reaction or something like that. So whatever caused the universe to exist had to want to cause it to exist. So it had to be personal. So with just a little meditation there, we can come to the conclusion that whatever caused the universe to exist is immaterial or spiritual, that it's non-spatial, outside of space, or perhaps heavenly, that it is outside of time, that it is personal, and that it is all-powerful. A description which, interestingly enough, matches the description of the God of the Bible. And so it is, when you look at the facts, when you look at the data, that it could happen on accident is astronomically impossible. That could happen by chance. The only logical conclusion, given the data of the Big Bang, is that the universe did have a beginning, and that beginning had to have been caused by God.
All right. It's good. And of course, you can look into all of this information for yourselves. And it's all readily accessible and available. Of course, this is just a real brief.
Just a little super brief.
In fact, this is a totally second cut of this because the first one wasn't brief enough.
Yeah.
So just know that this is a little bit. And if you want more information, more specific information, you have questions about any of this, submit those questions. Or for that matter, you don't have to just submit your questions here. Catch David after church. Find him on Facebook, and he's happy to answer more details and more specifics about these questions, and even put resources in your hands.
Absolutely.
About this information, as he did for me when he gave me a book that has a lot of this information in it that has really been pretty great. So I have another question for you. What's your favorite hobby?
Fishing, hands down. Obsessively so.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't ever get to do it.
When's the last time you fished?
Probably been a year.
Oh,
It's
man.
very sad. But I'm passionate about fishing. I really am.
Yeah. Biggest fish?
A 9-pound largemouth bass.
9 pounds. See, that doesn't sound very big to me.
It's huge.